Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel if you are new here. My name is Jacqueline. This is part of my jungle, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate you for still being here. So today I have a video that I've been wanting to sit down and do with you guys for a little while now, ever since I showed you this Hoya No ID. So I showed this to you guys in my most recent favorites video, I'm pretty sure. No. Did I? No, it was the Hoya growth. I was talking about Hoya that have been growing, why they've been growing, how I'm getting them to grow. And this is one that I talked about, and this is one that sparked a lot of conversation here and a lot of debate here on YouTube as well as over on Instagram when I posted it over there, and a lot of people were throwing suggestions. Like, I asked you guys if you knew what you thought this Hoya might be, and a lot of you had some really great ideas, and I want to show you some of the plants that I have in my collection that are similar, that a lot of people thought this plant was. So we can do like a little compare and contrast and just have a little chat about Hoya hybrids, and these ones specifically because these are all a lot of like Finlaysonii and Dakiae hybrids. So I thought it would be fun to kind of break it down a little bit, do a little comparing and contrasting, and see if we can get to the bottom of whatever this Hoya is. So I bought this as a Hoya Svetlana, which is a Dakiae times a Finlaysonii. So I have notes here so I can remember all of the different crosses. So Hoya Svetlana is a Dakiae times a Finlaysonii. And I've talked about this before. There's so many different Finlaysonii subspecies that it's really hard to know what specific Finlaysonii it was crossed with. For that reason, it's really hard to know exactly what that plant should look like, but I'm going to show you pictures now of Hoya Svetlana since I don't actually have one, and what that's supposed to look like in comparison to this one. And I think this one is kind of throwing people off because it does have like the rounder leaves down here, but these new ones came in a little bit more pillowy and elongated. So for that reason, I think most people, their first gut instinct in the plant that they went to was the Hoya Viola, which is a Dakiae times a Vitellina. And I don't actually have Vitellina to show it to you guys, but it is a pretty large leaf Hoya, and it does get splashy like this. So I could understand the thought process behind that, but in my experience, my Viola does not look quite the same. So this is a bad example because this is kind of a sad plant that I grew from a cutting, but this is the most recent leaf out on it, and it's pretty dark green. It's definitely veiny. It's not super splashy. I'm sure other people's specimens are, but in my experience, my Viola kind of comes out with these leaves that are wider. Words, Jackie. The tip of the leaf is wider than it is at the petiole. So that seems to be the case with most. It's hard to tell on this one because it did come in a little bit wonky, but you see how it starts out thinner and then it gets thicker as it goes. And that's something that I've always characterized this plant for, or like as something that it does in the way that it grows. And you can definitely see the Dakiae influence in this plant because of that, because let me show you Dakiae that I have right here. This is the Hoya Dakiae, and as you can see, it has these leaves that start out thinner at the petiole and then they get wider and they kind of do this little like heart-shaped thing. So it is a characteristic of this plant specifically that the leaves kind of grow in that fashion. So it's not far-fetched that this hybrid would grow in a similar manner. So this one is the Dakiae, And you can see it does have similar veining and splashing on the leaves as the rest of them, which just makes it all the more confusing. But the Viola to me is characterized by the leaf shape. And when I look at this one, I just don't get that same vibe. It's very rounded. It's pretty consistently round throughout the whole leaf. I wouldn't characterize the tip of the leaf as being significantly wider than the base of the leaf. So it's really hard to say confidently that this is a Viola, and I probably wouldn't say that this is a Viola for that reason. And the splash on here is really kind of what throws me off. It's got that more like matte silvery kind of splash to it that you see more on plants like the Deadbug. Mine's not a great example because it only has a few leaves, but it does have that similar splash to them. So I would say that Viola is a good guess, but I don't think that this is what this is. And I'm almost 100% positive this is a Hoya hybrid because the leaves kind of have that, I don't know, that Hoya wide vibe to them. Do you know what I mean? It's just these more elongated ones I think are kind of throwing people off. So hopefully this plant is going to continue to grow and maybe eventually bloom for me so that we can figure it out. So another plant that people were saying they think it could be is the Hoya Larisa. And I think that's a really, really great guess. And this is my Hoya Larisa. And the only reason why I'm going to say that it's not the same plant is because I feel like the Larisa has a way more like matte leaf than this one does. But again, that could just be like my specimen. It does have that like more matte splashing, but it's more of like a green on green splash than this one. This one is kind of more silvery than No ID. It's definitely got more of like a silver splash vibe to it, when I feel like the Larisa has more of like a green splash vibe to it. But I could understand why somebody would think that these two are similar. So the Larisa is a Finlaysonii times a Meredithii. And I do actually have both of those mother plants that I can show you. So my Finlay is pretty small, and like I said, there are so many subspecies of Finlaysonii that they're all gonna look different. So it's really hard to say. But Finlaysonii is usually characterized by their more like Calistophylla shaped leaves. They're longer and pointy, they're veiny, and they usually are splashy, but they come in many, many forms. So that is one of the parent plants to the Larisa, is the Hoya Finlaysonii. The second mother plant to this plant, or parent plant rather, is the Meredithii, which has a very large leaf, a very veiny leaf, and that's really it. I'm guessing that's where the Larisa gets more of her round shape from. So there is that, but also there are tons of different Meredithii subspecies, so it's normal for them to all kind of look different. But anyway, Hoya Larisa is a combination of Finlaysonii and Meredithii. And then you also have the Hoya Irina, or Irina, which is a combo of the Finlaysonii and the Meredithii as well. They don't look anything alike. So this one looks more like a Finlay timed Meredithii. This doesn't to me. So I don't know. This one's called EPC 965 and this one's called EPC 964. So you do with that information what you want to do with that information. Svetlana is an EPC 959. I don't have that plant. That's what the original one was sold to me as, but I don't think that it's a coincidence that people think that these all kind of look similar when they literally all come from pretty much the same parent plants. You can see again the differences in this. There's no way to convince me that this is the same plant. So I'm gonna say this is not an Irina. I also have this one that's labeled as Larisa, but it's definitely not a Larisa. It looks more like an Irina, and it looks different than the other one. So Hoya, you guys, they're confusing, but all I know is that I've got Larisa, Irina, Finlay, Viola, Dekiae, and Meredithii. I've got all these plants sitting here in front of me, and none of them look at all like this one. So I still don't know what this one is. If you guys have any other suggestions, I tried to grab any plant in my collection that kind of had the same vibe, but I've shown them all to you. So this is it compared to Dekiae. I'm almost 100% positive that this is one of the parent plants. They have the same vibe. They carry the same energy. They just have a different leaf shape. So what I'm thinking is that this one could potentially be a hybrid of a hybrid, and that is why it's like harder to determine what it is, or it just hasn't really come into its character yet. I don't know. I'm gonna keep on waiting for this to grow and bloom, hopefully, and see what happens. These are the two newest leaves, like I said. The most common thing that people thought it was the Viola, and I'm not sure that I'm convinced of that, but I think we're on the right track for sure, because this is also a Dekiae hybrid. Obviously it's not a Finlay. It very well may have some Finlay in it, but the only thing it would get from this plant would be the veining and the splashiness, because it doesn't have anything similar other than that. The leaf shape is very pointy on this one, and that is why you'll get the more pointy leaves on the Irina, because it has that Finlaysonii parent in there. So it's really hard for me to say what I think this plant is. This is also an Irina. But I 100% firmly believe that it is a Dekiae of some sorts. It's just what else is in there. So here's it compared to the Larisa. Again, if you guys wanted to see that. And keep in mind that everybody's specimens do look different. There's a lot of variety in plants, that just because you and I both have the same Hoya doesn't mean that they're going to look exactly the same. There's a lot of variety, plant to plant, leaf to leaf. It's just kind of a thing. So Meredithii, in case you were wondering, and take the Irina and the Larisa as a lesson in Hoya genetics. They are both crossed with the same plants. Let me show you again. We've got Larisa and Irina. Similar but different, even though they have the same parents. So take it all with a grain of salt. You know, Hoya IDs are confusing. Genetics are confusing in general, not just when it comes to plants. But Hoya genetics specifically can be very confusing. So I don't know. I really can't say what this is, but it's beautiful and I love it, and that's really what matters. So feel free to continue to drop your suggestions of what you think maybe this plant could be in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your Hoya heads, your Hoya groups, anybody who you think maybe can help identify this Hoya. It's not a big deal. It's not like I need to ID it or anything like that. I just think it's fun to try and figure it out, and I thought it would be fun to show you guys all of these other plants and talk about hybrids. Basically just show you some of my veiny Hoya that I love. So that is it for this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you like this type of format. I thought it would be fun. I just really wanted to show you guys a lot of these plants side by side, and hope that it helps kind of, I don't know, maybe narrow down what in the heck and bob the parents are to this plant, because she's beautiful and I love her, and I would love to have a name for her so that if I ever want to sell cuttings one day, I can properly pass on the ID to the next person. So that is it for this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me. If you did, you should definitely give this a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from me. There's a join button if you want to be part of the official plant fam. There's a super thanks button if you want to super thanks me. You guys know I can't do this without you. I appreciate you so very much. I appreciate all of your love, all of your kindness, and it does not go unnoticed. So I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are out there in the world. If you watched this whole entire video, leave me some rain emojis because it's a rainy day, girl, and the lighting is not great because I've got the overhead lights on, but hopefully you can see okay anyway. And don't forget to spread kindness, you guys. Don't forget to drink your water, and I will see you in the next one, I hope. Bye!